Morning, Janice.
Morning, Anthony.
All right. Today we're going to talk about whether or not a professional executor, compare a professional executor versus beneficiary designations for solo agers. So a few solo agers have called and asked if they can just use beneficiary designations instead of a traditional estate plan. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll explain why they're asking that question, and then some of the pros and cons of using beneficiary designations, and then why, I'm going to say many cases, a professional executor may work better, especially for solo agers. All right. So why doesn't a professional estate plan work for solo agers? Why are they asking for alternatives? So most traditional estate plans are really sort of built around the notion of having a friend or family member who will be your natural executor to manage probate after you die.
Right.
And sort of solo agers just don't necessarily have that natural or intuitive or assumed executor. They don't have a spouse and they don't have adult children. They may have friends or nephews or siblings, but for various reasons, those don't often work out. Siblings are the same age. You want somebody who's going to survive you for sure, or, the odds are they'll survive you. And
Right.
friends and siblings tend to be same age or older, right?
Yep.
There also might not be that level of trust you would have with a family member or spouse. So, you're giving up a lot of experience and professionalism for not the intimacy of a close family member. Does that make sense?
It does. And you might have some estrangement going on, and that you may have a family or friend, but it's just solo agers are just different. They're set up differently.
Yeah. So for that reason, that's why solo agers often look for a plan or a setup that avoids the use of executor altogether. And it's hard to blame them because I think we had one client who came and who went to several attorneys, and she would explain from the get-go, I'm not married and I don't have kids. How do you recommend I go about this? But because a lot of, maybe she just got unlucky, but because a lot of attorneys sort of have a set script or protocol or set of assumptions, she kept getting funneled into like, oh, so then, you can leave this to your kids. Like, I don't have kids.
I told you I don't have any.
So for those reasons, it was just so frustrating. And she was like, you know what? This whole notion of executor is nonsense. How do I avoid that altogether? Okay.
Right.
So that's sort of where.
Which makes sense if you're getting put in that funnel of, yeah.
Yeah, those assumptions can just get annoying after a while, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, so why do sole agers tend to like the idea of beneficiary designations instead of a traditional estate plan? And the short answer is beneficiary designations go directly to the heirs and they avoid probate. I'm putting that in air quotes.
Yeah.
So what are beneficiary designations? Like, think of life insurance. You name somebody to be the beneficiary on life insurance, your 401k, your IRA. And when you die, whoever's named as the beneficiary, submits a claim form and a death certificate to the brokerage account or the life insurance company, and they cut a check. You don't have to get letters testamentary. You don't have to go through probate for that particular asset.
Right.
So, I mean, just describing it like that, it probably sounds like a win. Like, oh my goodness, that's great. Why would I even mess with probate or a will or anything like that?
I like how you make it sound so easy that they could just
I'm just setting you up.
Money, it's fine. Yeah.
So the question is, does it actually work? I mean, I guess I'm kind of leading you to the alluding to what the answer is. And the answer is no. In most cases, it doesn't actually work. And what I mean by that is, yes, that particular account may go to whoever you named as the beneficiary without going through probate. But holistically, you probably haven't avoided probate altogether, because in order to completely avoid the need for probate, you have to have a 100% perfect beneficiary plan. What that means, you cannot leave any assets out. That doesn't happen. Everyone forgets one account or one checking account or everyone, but way too many people.
Oh, likely. Yeah.
And then on the other side, if you have any lingering debts or credit cards or taxes or anything like that, that has to be paid by an estate. There needs to be an estate representative, meaning a probate has to be set up anyway, to figure out, pro rata, which accounts need to be reduced by what amount to pay that lingering medical bill, funeral bill, credit card bill, unsecured mortgage, HELOC, IRS bill, blah, blah, blah. So if all assets have been gone to named beneficiaries, guess what happens? The IRS doesn't say, first of all, there's no executor and nobody's going to say voluntarily, hey, I volunteer for that job to just pay bills and get, harassed by the IRS.
Right.
Nobody steps into it. So what happens is the IRS or the creditors go directly to the heirs. So let's say you named your nephew, niece or nephew as the beneficiary on your life insurance, and then your best friend as the beneficiary of 401k. I'm just making this up, right?
Sure.
The IRS will now just go after them both. And it doesn't matter that the life insurance was $1 million and the 401k was, $100,000. They'll just harass them both until they get their money.
Right.
And nobody wants that. So when I say, does it work or it doesn't work, that's kind of what I'm talking about.
Yeah. That's about the last thing you want to leave to your heirs. Like, here's a really nice chunk of money because I'm, thinking of you. But for the next 10 years, the IRS is going to bug you for half of that. Yeah.
They're not great pen pals.
No. Oh, no.
Yeah. So why do some solo agers? So, okay, what do you do instead? So why some solo agers like the idea of a professional executor in lieu of the traditional estate plan with an assumed friend or family member as an executor? So the main attraction is that you're getting somebody experienced to just handle everything. I mean, that's great because you could get a friend or a nephew or a cousin, but in all likelihood, they've never done this before and they're just going to be bumbling about for the next year or two, right?
Yes.
The main drawback is some folks worry, isn't it expensive? And how do you find somebody to do that? So in terms of expense, we've talked about this in the past, Janice. In most states, at least here in the U.S., the executor's fee is set by state law, and it's the same whether or not you hire your 19-year-old unemployed nephew or a seasoned office of professionals. The fees are the same, so you might as well get people who know what they're doing. And just our perspective, of course. More
bang for your buck, right?
Yeah.
You're going to spend it anyway.
Yeah.
Professional.
And then how do you find somebody? Well, we're here obviously talking about this. You can also try to find a bank, or they usually have what are called trust officers who do this, even if you don't have a trust. The only drawback is most banks have liquid minimum requirements of at least 2 million, sometimes 5 million. Liquid, can't include your home. So yeah, folks like us, maybe a local attorney, just there are options. Maybe they're probably not as easy to find as you would hope, but it'll probably work out better than beneficiary designations.
Right.
And how do you go about naming somebody? You don't have to spend money on an estate planning attorney necessarily. I tend to think it's a good idea depending on how complex your situation is. But there's plenty of good free do-it-yourself software out there. We've talked about this in the past.
We have.
And you can just nominate somebody through one of those services. All right. I think that's it, Janice. Do you think anything else you think we need to cover?
No, absolutely. I think, like you said, if you're going to spend that amount of money, you might as well get somebody who kind of knows what they're doing. And we've talked about this before. You can interview this executor and you could talk to them and they're going to know your wishes. And a little different than maybe an estranged nephew who's 19 and you haven't really talked to in a long time, right? They may not know what you want to do. So definitely check out Anthony's book, The Solo Ager Estate Plan. There's a link down in the comments for a free e-copy.
Perfect. All right. So this is one of the questions we've gotten many a time. So feel free to throw your questions up and we will try our best to answer them all. Thanks, Janice, as usual. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Talk soon next time.
Talk soon.
Bye now.